Hey everyone, welcome to the Patreon-only series Smoke and Mirrors on AI in Games. In the previous episode, I talked about my experiences of playing through Far Cry Primal, a game I also covered in the actual case study series. In this episode, I want to talk about the Turok games, specifically 1997's Turok Dinosaur Hunter and 1998's Turok 2 Seeds of Evil by Iguana Entertainment. Now these games date back to the Nintendo 64, but they've seen life once more courtesy of re-releases by Night Dive Studios on PC in 2015 and 2017 respectively. During the summer, I picked these up in the Steam Summer Sale, given I figured I'd return to these two games as a beast of nostalgia. Until now, I've never successfully completed the original game, given I would play it at a friend's house, and my gaming budget was pretty tight. Plus, in terms of Seeds of Evil, I only ever played it one time thanks to a rental from a local AV library. If you don't know what that is, go ask your parents. So there was an appeal to return to them, not just to score two games off my completion list, but also to look at how characters behave and move in those games, given years later it's always stuck with me. While GoldenEye is fondly remembered for character reactions and behaviour, Turok was pulling this off around the same time, and on first encountering it on a Nintendo console no less, it was quite the statement. Enemies that react to being shot in the head, the neck and torso, fun ragdoll effects when hit with explosives, plus the general character movement is often fluid and swift. It's probably the first game I can think of where character movement and behaviour achieved a threshold of quality that really struck me, to the point here I am talking about it like over 20 years later. Despite this, there are numerous parts of the game where the characters stumble in context of the environment. There's a lot of climbing and verticality, but the AI isn't built for that, with the exception of maybe the flying alien dudes in the latter half of the first game. This isn't surprising, of course, it's 1997. Navigation tools and such for 3D games are still in their infancy, a point I actually made just recently in my AI 101 on navigation meshes. However, one of the things they do well is know where to stop and shoot if they can, or just patrol if they lose sight of the player or you leave the region of the map. Given so much of the game is open areas to run around and fight in, this largely works out really well for the most part, even in Seeds of Evil, where the level designs have become a little bit more ambitious in nature. Throughout the two games there's a lot of enemy variety, which really helps keep it interesting. In both games they're quick to have a base level of variety with maybe 3 or 4 enemy types, but are reluctant to put too many different types in the one space at the same time, instead offering to break up maps into zones where you're more likely to see a certain enemy appear. Considering that we have soldiers, village people, shaman, aliens, lunging lizards, dinosaurs, big monsters, mutant dinosaurs with guns, underground cave monsters and things like triceratops and tyrannosaurs, it seemed reluctant to give any variety in a given fight until later levels, particularly in Turok 2. Given how long each level is, and boy are they long, it felt like the enemy diversity could be better balanced. Thankfully, each enemy in a traditional enemy archetype model carries its own unique behaviour that you have to adapt to, and each is reinforced with really tight and nicely built animation. Everything moves and dies with a lot of fluidity. Characters move around the map with urgency, but also have the necessary weight, or lack thereof, in context of their speed and how far you can blow them away with a grenade launcher. It still looks and feels great, and I was surprised by how well it still holds up 20 years later. The weapon diversity really helps with this, given you can pick the weapon for the battle based on the enemy makeup and local geography. Hence you don't go wasting grenade launcher rounds when you can better use the minigun. I was a little confused by Turok 2 though. It offers a lot of weapons, 3 by my count, that prioritise stunning enemies. But the agency of characters and the pace of the game doesn't suit that playstyle really until much later in the game. I found it best to prioritise just shooting them in the face as they got closer. But in saying that, once you get to around mission 4 of the 6 that Turok 2 has to offer, you're frequently encountering larger, more monstrous enemies, at which point those stun tools became incredibly useful to hold them steady whilst I break a grenade launcher round or 2 off in their face. Replaying the games themselves and burning through the story missions, I realised just how big each game is. Each mission is often broken up in this interesting non-linear format, with large forks in the road that often have you teleport back to earlier in the level upon completion, such that you can either explore the next main segment of play or to redirect you towards the main path of the level that you should be running along. It's still a relatively unique style of level design for first-person shooters, given that across both games the keys you collect unlock later levels, not to mention hidden weapons such as the Chronoceptor and the nuke weapon. This is heightened in Turok 2 by certain segments of levels requiring skills and abilities that you don't unlock until later. Sadly, Turok 2 kind of squanders this opportunity, given that each level has a required set of objectives to also complete before you can leave the level for the first time. This was my biggest stumbling block when playing Turok 2, given I would frequently complete around 80% of the level objectives on the first pass, and then it teleports you back to the beginning of the level again, where I'd have to double check every nook and cranny I visited 20 or 30 minutes ago. It really kills the momentum at times, and particularly in the second level, I had to go through it 3 times because I couldn't find the tiny wee corridor I missed to go and kill one of the 3 damn Sisters of Despair that was a primary objective. Despite my misgivings and my kind of beating on it here, the Turok games, and specifically these remasters, hold up pretty well and have been a lot of fun to burn through in the last month or so. It's been great to revisit these games, and the new control systems and graphical improvements help keep them up to date and relevant to a point. They haven't aged that badly. If you're either curious about how they hold up or just fancy a more old school shooter, these will serve you pretty well. I played through them on PC, however they've also been re-released on Xbox One. I think they're due to also have a release on PlayStation 4, but how long you have to wait for that, I'm not entirely sure. Thanks for watching this episode of Smoke and Mirrors. Does anyone else here have any experiences of the Turok games? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and how well these games have aged over the years. In next month's episode, I'm sticking with a kind of retro theme here, as I talk about my experiences of working my way through pretty much every single entry of the Mega Man franchise through the Mega Man Legacy Collection. It's been a lot of fun, but also sometimes unnecessarily stress-inducing. Alright, see you then, and thanks for watching.